In this quantum energy frequency transmission 717, um, I want to talk about channeling. You know, before I started to really recognize what I've come to understand channeling to be, I had judgment. I was very curious. I wanted to understand how to do it, but I had judgment. And what helped me step into a more universal perception of channeling was tapping into the understanding of how that even comes to be. And I had a lot of help actually, and you can see from the Buddha, because there was a concept that I picked up somewhere, okay, about coils, about spirals, about connecting to um, to data through wormholes, through vortexes, uh, 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 through an opening that you can sort of connect, set the intention to, and call in. And looking at the Buddha, I was thinking, okay, so an enlightened being, all those little, coils on the head, are those connecting to various points of wisdom out there? Are they calling that in? Are they channeling that in and presenting that out to us? Is that where that data comes from? Is that how that comes to be for some people who kind of expand out into that awareness, into that ability, into that knowing that it's possible, that that's a thing, that you can do that, right? So that connection, that link, that to me, that's channeling. That's setting the intention and connecting to something that you're asking to reciprocate data, like a conversation with. I spent a lot of time calling. Okay, so in the beginning, when I found out I could do that, um, I was trying to study physics, and I'm not a math person, and I sort of had this perception that, um, can I really just kind of sit and absorb this and work with my own energy fields with this data, or do I have to know some other things, right? And that was a little overwhelming for me. So what I'm not exactly sure why now, actually, but anyway, I would go out on my porch and I would, set the intention to connect to Tesla or Einstein or our founding fathers, and I would literally call them in. And one day, I was writing with my left hand and I started channeling, and I got a message that said, "This is Thomas Jefferson." And what did I say? Oh, okay. "This is Thomas Jefferson. What is your question?" And I said, "I'm not sure that I have a question, but I appreciate that you're here." And he said, and I felt the energy through it, "You called me." And then he gave me oh, what was it? Oh, he gave me a message that said, "What I want you to know right now is that you are something about being sovereign." And that stuck with me. That was actually the first time I started to research what it meant to be sovereign. So that was a very powerful message. But what was really cool after that is that I wrote, "My name is Billy. I am a goat." Right? So as I'm as I'm progressing along on my journey, and I just want to finish this real quick because it's kind of fun. I go on and I start getting time synchronicities of 423, and I start getting synchronicities with the name Billy. Billy's Got a Gun, the music coming from Def Leppard on Song Shuffle. Um, in key moments, right? That song would like I'm on song shuffle. I'm letting it choose for me, and that song would come up right when I'm sitting with Saint Germain. Well, the interesting thing is there's a lot of talk, I guess, internet chat references through various avenues about Saint Germain being also William Shakespeare, whose birthday happens to be 423, and that's Billy. So anyway, he started coming to me really early, joking with me and saying, you know what? Okay, well, well, anyway, it's a lot more playful, a lot more entertaining than I think some people really want to give it credit for. Want to really put that out there. There seems to be some rule that everything has to be stuffy and strict and restricted, right? Yeah. So okay. So channeling. I can say I'm a clear channel, and I can believe with full faith and conviction that I am. But I can also stand here and tell you with absolute certainty I am not fully enlightened as a being, which means I have distortions, which means that there's potential for what I say to be distorted in some way by my own perceptions, my own judgments, my own uh, um, whatever, right? There's always that potential. I fully acknowledge that in myself. I fully am aware of that when I sit to listen to other people who are channeling, and I take what resonates with me, right? Because I'm aware of that. Sometimes I correct myself. When I notice it, I correct myself. Because, as your awareness changes, well, I just think that's the responsible thing to do, but that's not where I was going to go. I was going with, okay. So, the Bible, that came from somewhere, right? There's different authors, different perceptions, different stories, metaphors, ideas. Um, they may have the same premise, but they're slightly different, different placement, different experiences of how that data came into them that they shared out. But when I read those things, it's like that's channel data, right? So I'm not saying don't put faith in it. I'm just saying, you know, there's this perception about channelers or data that comes in through a channel that is sort of taboo. I just find that really interesting, especially some of the ones saying that it's taboo, right? What are you standing by? I think it's highly fascinating that wisdom is coming in through all sorts of channels, frequencies, receivers, people willing to be that, to share that. And we can share our perception, and we can share what it is that we've learned from it. Does it resonate with everybody? No. Is it going to? No. Do I expect it to? No. Who does it resonate with right now? Me. And from where I'm standing, I really don't see the big deal. Yes, I do it. But once upon a time, I kind of made it into a bigger deal until I really started to take a look and say, well, where did we get all this other stuff, right? I mean, really, where did it come from? Sometimes it's just a matter of putting things into perspective. Before we start throwing stones at something that we don't understand, let's try to put it in a global perception. I mean, because really, where does the data originally come from? Do we know that? Matthew wrote a book, Mark wrote a book, Luke, John, right? Different people wrote different books on different perceptions of different things that they had encountered. Some of it miraculous in what we would call, biblical times. Where did that come from? Didn't seem to be a big uproar about it then, or at least where the data came from, right? Following the data, another topic. What we're talking about is where it came from. It's the best-selling book in the world, the Bible, right? Anyway, channeling. Calling in data from other places, calling in wisdom, calling in something to help teach you what it is that you're seeking. What it is that you're having some sort of a quandary or issue with, right? You know, I believe in the power of prayer. I do. And you know why? I believe in the power of witchcraft. I believe in the power of magic. I believe in the power of Reiki energy, which is something that is also invisible. I believe in quantum energy healing. Why do I believe in all that? Because everything says the same thing. When you believe with full faith and conviction in something. And for me, that's that there is wisdom out there that we can link to, that we can set the intention to say, you know what, in this situation, I'm going to ask myself to not automatically go to this space. I'm going to just be silent for a minute and I'm going to think for a minute, or I'm not going to, excuse me, I'm going to try to clear my mind for a minute, not allow those automatic thoughts to come up. And I'm going to set the intention to go out to a collective conscious, a higher wisdom, something greater than me, to guide me, to send me that message, to send me a sign, to send me some sort of a clue, what I should be looking for in this moment. And how that looks to me is going to be unique to me. But I set that intention and I know it works. I know that there's assistance out there waiting to come back to me. I know prayer works. I know when I ask God to send me the best support I can have in any given moment for my situation, that's who comes to me. And I got to tell you, a lot that has been the ascended masters in various forms, really, and even so much as just sort of like an inspiration to go to a particular website, to read a particular phrase, to launch a particular thought, to put me in a particular space, to kind of connect a particular awareness that's trying to come out, right? Following those guides, or following those clues. I ask for the signs. Well, the thing is I know they're coming. So when I see them, I acknowledge them and then I follow them and then it takes me on a particular path and then we get there, right? So that's what happened in my 2 cents, right? For those who wrote and documented their version of what they experienced from witnessing the biblical times, right? So channeling. I am grateful for those who come and present through me. I appreciate the path that I'm on and the awareness that I have. And I appreciate scripture. I'm not going to go any further into my personal beliefs about anything like that. I don't have to, because I'm not looking for a book to give me that. I'm not looking for wisdom to give me a structure. I'm looking for the wisdom to help me understand why I think the way that I think, why I observe the way that I observe, what makes me me, how I am, responsible for what it is that I experience and that includes my perception of where things potentially come from, and how by relaxing my perception on channeling, on actual uh, uh, demanding where information comes from, right? Because if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to go back a really long way and start making some demands, right? But I'm not going to do that. That's not anywhere near anything that I want to do, but I can certainly recognize the truth in what I see, right? And incorporate that into my current belief system. Okay, do you know what? I see that's a thing. I see that very clearly. So these experiences that I'm having, these expansions into this sort of channeling and calling in and all that I'm having, I can feel very comfortable with that. Right? It's been going on for a long time, right? You read a lot or you hear a lot about how, was it Leonardo da Vinci that went off to a cave for a couple of years and came back and had all this wisdom? Um, uh, um, it just seems to me that a lot of people on the, do I want to say that? On the cutting edge, on the leading edge, I feel like I want to, is that, okay. Vibrational match. I think Abraham. Um, I love her. I love watching her channels. Um, oh Lord, where was I? Anyway, channeling, there's so much glorious information coming in if we just accept it, right? Without judgment of where it comes from or whatever. Take what it is that you can get from it. Explore what it is that you're hearing for yourself, right? Without the judgment of, well, that person is calling that in, that person's not the Pope, that person's not this, that person's not this. Well, data comes in a lot of different ways. If we're receiving and we're willing to share, we're just asking that you maybe listen with an open mind and really sort of try to understand really what's happening, like how that happens and how that's been happening for a very long time. It's actually also really natural. It's a very natural thing to kind of get in that flow, develop that conversation. Hey, what could I learn from this? What can I learn here? And oh, I'm going to save that for another one. I'm going to do a talk on dreams. I may do that in a few minutes. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna wrap up on channeling. Thank you. Blessings.